Good morning, hello and welcome. My name is Bhuvan. This is the Indian Express Explained. Let's get started. I have two topics for you and a surprise. So we'll get into it straight away. Bulbul Revisit Coda. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining. So this is where you go ahead and connect with me in case you have any particular doubts related to whatever we discuss here today. Okay, this is my Instagram handle. Many of you have reached out to me already. So in case if you have any particular doubts, any particular strategy related guidance, any questions related to the UPSC Civil Services examination process, you can reach out to me here. All right. The first topic that I have for you comes from the explain page, as we always do. Okay. And it is to do with the Vienna Convention, because again, what we find is that 41 of Canada's finest have been recalled by Canada because, well, the diplomatic immunity that is guaranteed under Vienna Convention was probably being taken away from them. Okay. In fact, not probably, was most likely being taken away from them. Okay. So this has caused a lot of international furor, obviously. Besides, say, the Indo-Canadian relationship, you also find that the US and UK have weighed in with their expert advice on this particular issue. All right. So let's look at it first, case by case. Number one. Now the whole rationale, when you look at the rationale behind this move, all right, what's the reason? So several people will point to several things. But one important concept that you must be seized of, you must actually know about it, is that, say, diplomacy, international relations works on a singular concept of reciprocity. Okay? Which essentially means that, well, I shall behave with you the way you shall behave with me. Okay? And that, say, parity should be maintained for the relationship to establish and, say, flourish. Okay? That there should be a relationship of equals. Now, what you find is that Canada had close to 60 plus diplomats in India. Okay? And India had close to 21 only in Ottawa, in Canada. So therein is the first concept, that the concept of parity was not being followed. Over-representation of Canadian diplomats in India, for whatever reasons that may. Some might say, yes, it is to do with, say, the large amount of Indians who tend to go to Canada, and thus you need those visa services and those personnel. Fine enough. The Indian government says that, well, it is to do with increased interference in Indian affairs. Right? So let's look at it. India has sought parity of diplomatic staff with Canada. 41 Canadian diplomats recalled to Ottawa. Now this is the whole concept, the concept of reciprocity or parity here. Now let's look at what Article 11.1 of the Vienna Convention says. Because Vienna Convention and the consular relations is to do with, these are the primary two documents that you're looking at in terms of defining how states should, say, maintain this relationship. Okay. So what does Vienna Convention 11.1 say firstly? Let's understand that first, and then we can go into the facts of the case. Snehal, good morning, welcome. Bhagishri, good morning. So Article 11, subclause 1. Let's look at it. In the absence of specific agreement, so unless agreed upon, the size of the mission, the receiving state may require that the size of a mission be kept within limits considered by it, which means unless you have a specific agreement, the host country shall determine how many of your diplomats are needed. Right? So this is the whole concept here, that eventually it is the onus of the country where you are setting up your consulate as to how many people are exactly needed there. Okay. Now, the history of diplomatic relations, when you look at it, say, over the course of the several centuries, what you find is that diplomats and diplomatic relations have existed forever. The earliest example being from Ramayana, where King Ravana had ordered the killing of Bhagwan Hanuman, and that time you found that Vibhishan had pointed out that messengers or diplomats cannot be harmed. They ought not to be harmed. So that is probably the earliest example you can think of. Otherwise, throughout history also you find several instances where diplomats and diplomatic immunity and the special privileges that a host country should extend to them, and say the denial of those privileges also has been cause enough for several wars to start. Okay. So let's look at some examples. A Roman envoy was urinated on as he was leaving the city of Tarentum. Yes. And thus the envoy had sworn that this stain will be washed away with blood. Then you had the Pyrrhic War. Closer home in South India, the Kandalur War. Yes. The ill treatment of Raja Chola, his envoy in fact. Yes. By the king of Kula Shekhara dynasty. this led to the Kandalur War. Yes, Prophet Muhammad also has said very extensively about, how the messengers should be protected. Those who are carrying the message, or those who are diplomats, those who are the channels of communication, they ought not to be harmed. So you have historical references of this, and eventually what you find was that much of this was codified under the Vienna Convention of 1961, right? So let's look at the Vienna Convention of 1961, because again, given that Indo-Canadian relationship has been in the news, you ought to know about it thoroughly. Okay, so let's look at it. It provides a complete framework of establishment, maintenance, termination, all three. Right from establishment, say how you are going to establish that relationship, maintain that relationship, and in case things go sour, how should you sever that relationship. All those procedures are laid down therein. Okay, entered into force in 1964. 2 countries only haven't ratified it. 193 countries have ratified Vienna Convention so far. Yes, the same number coincidentally as the United Nations. United Nations has 193 member states and 2 observer states, right? So it's the same number. Now it codifies the long-standing custom of diplomatic immunity. Now what does diplomatic immunity mean? So several connotations to it. You are immune not just say from civil and criminal liability. You also do not have to pay taxes. You get special privileges, the host state that extends to you. All of this is why. What exactly is the point of it? So as to maintain this constant channel of communication and not let the host country interfere in the works of the country that is setting up its consulate or its, say, a particular body. It's essentially to do that to maintain good relationship, you need to give the particular ambassador or the diplomat the special privileges, the freedom from certain things, so as to enable him or her to maintain his or her confidential relationship with his or her state. Yes. So now you find that there are several connotations to it. Let's understand them one by one. Now that you understand what diplomatic immunity is, let's understand them. The summary of provisions. Number 1, firstly, civil and criminal jurisdiction. Complete liability. Okay. And that is when they are functioning in their official designation. That time, they are free from all sorts of civil and criminal liability, whatever that may so arise in the discharge of the duty. Okay. They are exempt from taxes, no taxes to be paid by them. And more importantly, what you must realize is the family members are also given that special privilege. So not just the diplomat, but his immediate family, whosoever might be there present in the jurisdiction of that territory, is extended that particular privilege. Now, is diplomatic immunity extended uniformly to everyone? Say in a consulate, ABC, for example. So if it has 100 individuals working there, does everyone enjoy diplomatic immunity? No. There is certain grade, after that only shall the diplomatic immunity arise. For example, every consulate or every such house has people from the local population working for it. They may not enjoy diplomatic immunity considering that they are citizens of the host country, right? So only a certain individuals qualify for this, right? So now one thing that you need to know of in terms of diplomatic immunity is, say, how does it factor in terms of this particular conversation that we're having? The Indo-China diplomatic immunity and this particular, say, number of 41 individuals going back to Canada. What is the effect that it has as claimed by China? That is India contravening the Vienna Convention? No. As if you go ahead and see the External Affairs Ministry's statement, you will find that the External Affairs Ministry has denied that India is breaking the 11.1 article of the Vienna Convention, right? So let's go ahead and answer some questions now. Question number 1 that I have for you. Vienna Convention is legally binding on the states that have ratified it. Statement 1. Sheshmani, how are you? Good morning, good to see you. Okay. Statement B. United Nations has higher number of member states than the countries under Vienna Convention. Okay. How many numbers of states are there in the United Nations? How many countries have agreed to the Vienna Convention is what you should know. Okay. Identify the incorrect statements. Question number 2. Blue passport, red passport, white passport, orange passport. Now many of you must have passports of, say, I'm expecting the blue color, but what would the others mean? Okay. So go ahead and match the following. Blue is the general public, red passport, senior government officials, white passport, diplomats, and orange passports for Divyangs. Okay. Go ahead and identify the incorrectly matched here. Right. Meanwhile, before I transition on to the second topic for the day, very quickly, This Dashara sale by the StudyIQ IAS management is now live. In fact, is now closing in the next few hours. What you are advised to is go ahead and quickly access and avail this opportunity, because these are the lowest prices for a long time. And so go ahead, avail of this opportunity in case you are looking to prepare for next year or the year after that, because this program comes with an extended validity. Yes, you prepare at your own pace, and so avail this opportunity. These are the lowest prices so far. The course being available in 3 languages: Hindi, English, and bilingual, right? So, well, ASAP, chop, get moving. You'll find the sign up link in the description box below. Okay, moving on to the second topic that I have for you. And so, well, this will be in the news starting now. So you should be aware of the basics. So let's go ahead and quickly look at the basics of air quality index, because Delhi's air has started to deteriorate. Okay, day after, like every morning after, you see a consistent drop in just the mere visibility of the air. So let's go ahead and understand what the air quality index is first. Okay, so these, firstly, understand it, that it is what you're looking at. The frequency of it is on a daily basis. Okay, so the air quality index, you will see, is updated on a real-time basis. If you have ever been at a major intersection in New Delhi, the ITO, you will find that there is a huge board that goes ahead and updates you the particular pollutants that are there, that are being, say, captured. The figures are being updated on a real-time basis. But the updation of this happens on a daily basis. And what do we know of this now eventually? It's eventually, what we know is the effect it has on an individual's health. How air pollution affects one's health is known from here. Certain parameters are being tied to, say, interpretations. Okay, let's understand that first. So the purpose of AQI is to help people know how the local air quality impacts their health. Okay, now the higher the AQI value, which means the higher the concentration of pollutants that you expect in the atmosphere, and thus the interpretation is that, well, these are the problems that you might so expect. And thus you find linked to this very process is the government's response to it. Okay, so it's again a linear process. You are looking at first the AQI value being linked to air pollution, that being linked to health concerns, and then that being linked to the governmental response. So we ought to have a look at each of these subcategories now. If you are going to cover this, you are going to look at each of them individually. So this is the subcategorization. What I want you to focus on is that the range is from 0 to 500. Okay. Now you would expect that, say, the the entire planet will have the same range. Unfortunately, no. Okay. Certain countries have 0 to 500, certain others have 0 to 300, but India thankfully follows the 0 to 500 categorization, same as the United States. Okay. So let's look at the AQI first. So this is this morning, by the way. Okay. I just went ahead and captured it from the website of the Central Pollution Control Board, okay, a statutory body under the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, okay. And well, if you look at it, the functions of it, if I have to just break down the functions of the Central Pollution Control Board, well, several functions. You can go ahead and just compartmentalize them into 2 parts. Number 1, it goes ahead and monitors, say, air pollution, okay. Yes, it does monitor air pollution. And at the same time, it also monitors water pollution. Okay. So you find that the 1974 Act of Air Pollution, the National Air Pollution Control Act of 1974, and the National Water Pollution Control Act of 1981, essentially the CPCB gives effect to these 2 particular acts. Now, what does it go ahead and capture? What are these, say, different parameters? Let's look at them. Number 1. PM 2.5. Straight away understand 2.5 means they are absolutely the thinnest that you know of in terms of pollutants. Okay. So PM 2.5, PM 10, firstly that 2.5 and 10 is to do with their, say, how thin they are, So in terms of thinnest, you are looking at PM 2.5, the thinnest, which is why you find that both of them exist in gaseous form. Okay, they are part of the air that you go ahead and breathe. Now PM 10, slightly less thin than 2.5, so it just restricts itself to the lungs. So thankfully you just die of what? Lung related ailments. But 2.5, because it is more thin, it goes ahead and lodges itself in the bloodstream also. Alright, And what happens? Because they are so thin, they exist as a part of the air that you are breathing, right? So this is inevitable, as they say, right? Then you're looking at NO2, NH3, SO2, and ground level carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide. So total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 categories that is captured by the CPCB as part of the AQI. Okay. Now look at it. It has average, minimum, maximum. Please understand that the AQI level that is advertised for the public is the maximum number, not the average number. Okay. So this is one thing that you should know from the MCQ perspective, that the AQI is the highest value that is captured of each of these pollutants. Then thereafter that there is a formula that is applied to arrive to that specific band. And then you have the public know that yes, the air is in poor category, severe category, very poor category, whatever the subcategorization that might be. Okay. Right. So AQI calculation, like I told you, different countries use different point scales. United States use 500 to 500 point scale. Thus India uses the same too. Okay. The highest value, this is the MCQ part, guys. Okay. The examination might put it as, say, the average value is captured. You shall mark it incorrect. Okay. Is the highest value of each pollutant. So if you were to go ahead and understand this, so the highest value of each pollutant, right? You go ahead, then you apply a formula to get the AQI value. And thus, you find that the air could be in poor, severe, very poor, depending on the subcategorizations that you have. And this entire process is between the 0 to 500 band. Okay, this is how it is ahead. The key being the highest value. Okay. So now what is the governmental response then? So now that we know that, okay, this is how my air quality may go bad, good, average, moderate, whatever. Okay. So how does the government response? The government's response is called the Graded Response Action Plan. Okay. This was formed by the MOEFCC. Essentially, it's a central government plan. Okay. This was in effect to the Supreme Court's guidelines that asked it to go ahead and frame a response plan for these kind of problems. Okay. So the Graded Response Action Plan, in case of Delhi, let's look at the particular stages that are there and what is the response to the government. So how is the government responding to it? On the basis of the AQI levels that are being updated on a real-time basis. Okay. So the first stage, when the AQI is poor, that time you find no garbage burning, no sweeping of these roads without sprinkling water. Okay. Essentially to maintain the dust level so as to decrease this pollution level, ambient pollution at least. Second stage, when it is very poor, then you have diesel generators. Well, you are putting a ban on them. Increased parking fee, which means you are intensifying particular, say, personal vehicles, and public transport is now getting prominence. Okay, it is being incentivized by the state. Increased bus and metro frequency, issuing advisories only. Just advisories so far for children, elderly, and the rest. In the third stage, you have ban on all of these industrial plants. Okay. Then you find that all construction materials are to be covered, heavy fine for non-adherence. Fourth stage, when you eventually are looking at everything being shut down, right? Schools will be shut down, right? Advisories being issued, the odd even plan, all of that is a part of the Graded Response Action Plan. That is a part of the governmental response when AQI increases. Now this will be in the news, okay? We are going to go ahead and in the next classes look at, say, what are the different reasons that, say, a particular ambient places ambient pollution may increase. You know, we'll tie it up to a little bit of geography also in the coming lectures. Okay, so go ahead and answer this for me, guys, very quickly. Question number 3. Water Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1974. Air Prevention and Control of Pollution Act 1981. The CPCB is interested with the application of which of the above? Okay, easy question. I think we mentioned the answer to this very quickly. Question number 4. CPCB implements both the National Air Monitoring Program and National Water Quality Monitoring Program. Statement A. Statement B. PM 2.5 can enter the bloodstream. PM 10 can only affect the lungs. Identify the correct statements for me. Yes, should be a very reasonably easy questions for you. Yes. So if you're understanding how we communicate here, you're understanding exactly the focus, the intensity, the thrust of this entire exercise. It's not just say on concept learning, it's also the application of these concepts very, very quickly. Go ahead and leave me a like if you like the way we communicate here. Yes, that would really motivate me. Meanwhile, let's move ahead to the surprise that I had told you I have for you. Yes. So this is where you find the PDF of this entire lecture, my friends. Okay. This is where you find the PDF of the entire lecture. Go ahead and scan this, become a part of a very vibrant community. I had announced a giveaway in the last class, and that is going to happen tomorrow. So, well, we are looking at several books that will be sent away to the dear members of that channel, who have really motivated me with their messages, their emails, and kept me updated with their questions. So go ahead, become a part of this very small but very strong Telegram channel. Right. So this is a passage that I have for you from the Indian Express, my friends. What I want you to do now, please read this passage first. Okay. Let's go ahead and read this passage. Since many of you have asked me for reading comprehension guidance, let's go ahead and try one today. Why not? It was a very interesting passage from the Indian Express. Let's look at it. Whenever there is an India versus Pakistan game, it is similar to a Rajnikant movie release. There is a huge frenzy and hysteria that you cannot put in words, and only those watch Thalaivar's first show will understand. Great. That is what India versus Pakistan is. In the 1999 test, I felt what it is to be a part of it, where I felt like a hero. The noise when I got off the mark still gives me goosebumps. Sadagopan Ramesh, who made his debut in the test, recalls to the Indian Express. Padhiye isko thoda. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of comprehension, guys, today. Right? Let me know once you have read the passage, then we shall move on to the question. Those who are watching this live, just very quickly let me know, please. Yes, read. Shall we go forward to the question, my friends? Chaliye, sawal dekhte hain. Let's look at the question now. Okay. Now that you have read the passage, fair enough time has been given, close to 60 to 90 seconds. Let's look at the question. You are going to identify the central theme for me. Okay. Because identification of central theme is one of the most frequently asked questions when it comes to reading comprehension. So let's understand. Identify the central theme. Question 1. Pakistan and Rajnikant enjoy equal status in Chennai. Statement B. Pakistan's World Cup dreams will be determined in Chennai. Statement C. Pakistan has lost its first 2 matches in the tournament. Statement D. Pakistan's matches with Afghanistan and South Africa will not generate similar interest as India versus Pakistan match. Okay. Go ahead and identify the central theme for me. And at the same time, if you want to go ahead and further answer this, let me know what is the tone of the author in the first passage. Okay, if you want to go ahead and further answer this for me. Not the author, tone of Sadagopan Ramesh. Okay, what is his tone in the first passage? Let me know this answer for me too. This is question 5B. Answer this in the comment box for me. Right? Okay. We'll discuss this. Bulbul, revisit. We'll discuss this answer. Good. I'd suggest take a relook though very quickly. Okay. If I were to give you a hint, take a relook. Okay. And we'll discuss how to go ahead and identify central idea and theme, because that is a question that many students get stumped at, So well, go ahead and do this. Question 5 is obviously identify the theme, and question 5B is identify the tone of Sadagopan Ramesh in the first passage, this being the passage that I've just put before you. Okay? Right. So the questions from the last class, my friends. So we discussed, a lot. They discussed of the Bhakti Vedanta Trust case, the copyright case in the Delhi High Court. We discussed it in the last class. So let's look at the questions. With reference to the National Intellectual Property Rights Policy, okay, consider the following statements. It reiterates India's commitment to Doha Development Agenda, absolutely true, and the TRIPS agreement of the WTO, absolutely true. Okay, this is to ensure that it has a pan-global uniformity presence in terms of, say, application of all sorts of IP laws. Okay, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion is the nodal agency for regulating IP in India is correct. Operates under the Ministry of Commerce. Which of the above are correct? Both being correct here. Absolutely. Okay. Consider the following statements. According to the Indian Patents Act, a biological process to create a seed can be patented in India is untrue. You can't do that. In India, there is no intellectual property appellate board. Well, the thing is, in India, you can go ahead and appeal almost everything and anything. That is absolutely understandable. That since we have the system of checks and balances, no particular, right to appeal can be taken away from any particular individual or organization. The only final court of appeal is the Supreme Court. Okay. So by common sense, by logic, this is incorrect. Plant varieties are not eligible to be patented in India is absolutely correct. So the answer here being only C. Okay. Tolkappiyam by Tholkappiyar is correctly matched. Kural by Thiruvalluvar is correctly matched. The answer here being none of the above. Okay. We discussed it. It was a very simple question. Thevaram Thiruvasagam Divya Prabandham. In which of the above can you expect to find the mention of Nataraja, the cosmic dance of Lord Shiva? Okay. Which means you are looking at the Nayanars. The books related to Nayanars is what the question expects me to find here. Yes. So last class we discussed Thevaram, Thiruvasagam are books related and read by Shaivites or the Nayanars, which is whereas the Divya Prabandham is to do with the Alvars. Okay. Thus you find that the answers here being A and B only. C. Okay. The agricultural year in India is calculated from July to June the following year. Is, well, correct. Absolutely. The financial year in India is the time period where income is earned. True. So if you are earning your income in 2023-24, your assessment year becomes 2024-25. So which means it is after the financial year. Okay. Not before the financial year. So the correct statements here being A and B. Okay. So these are my individuals who answered the questions correctly for me. Well done. Monica, Kavya, Pooja, Revisit, Tanvi, Harshit, Crystal, Anadi, Shubham, User, Vaishnavi, Rupash, Coder, Gatso, Aditya and Ayush. Well done, guys. Extremely happy with some of the responses. Some of the individuals getting all correct, which was good to see, because you see that we do a lot of PYQs also from time to time. It's important to keep updated with the trend that the examination follows and not just blindly solve, say, MCQs. Okay. So well done. To the rest who are watching this, go ahead and, well, try answering the questions of today also. Take a stab at the RC passage, because identification of tones, identification of, say, central idea, assumption, inference, corollary, you ought to have a very, अच्छा पकड़ होना चाहिए उस पे. नहीं तो फिर you will find yourself again getting stumped in next year's CSAT 2024. Right? So with that, we'll wrap this class up till I see you on day after tomorrow morning for the next edition of Indian Express Explained. Wishing you all an advance best wishes for Shubho Bijoya to all those who are celebrating. May you have a prosperous, blessed year ahead and may you succeed in your dreams. Okay. Till I see you on Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. in the next edition of Indian Express Explained. This is Bhuvan Apurva Jha signing off. Thanks for watching.